Hello, this video is going to show how we can achieve functional safety using the CodeWarrior Development Studio for an S12Z. Now, this is the board that I've got connected to my laptop at the moment, and it actually has an onboard debugger built in, but otherwise I could have connected using an external USB multi-link. Now, this is CodeWarrior, and inside CodeWarrior I've created a simple project. And let's check first of all we can build this project. So let's go and do a build, and then we can see that it's successfully built. Now I need to go and execute this, so I've already set this up to use the multi-link that's on board. So let's go and debug this particular project and check we can talk to the target. So here we're connecting through the multi-link, and it should now start to execute. And there we can see we're in the main. I should now be able to start to single step through my program and debug it. Okay, good. So let's stop this now. And let me close this down. Let's go back to this view. And what I'd like to be able to do is, first of all, I'll be able to look at this code and see, well, is it compliant to a coding standard such as MISRA? I'd then like to be able to look at this code and see, well, is it good quality? How complex is it? I'd like to be able to measure metrics like the cyclomatic complexity. And then I'd like to be able to see, well, as the code executes on the target, how much of this code have we actually exercised? And finally, if we haven't got 100%, I'd like to complement that coverage by doing some unit testing. So let's go and first of all go into TB Vision. And inside TB Vision, I've already analyzed the project. We can see here the two source files. And let's do a code review and see, is this code compliant to MISRA? Well, it wasn't written to be compliant, and as we can see, we have a lot of violations here. If I was to double click on a particular violation, it opens up my editor and takes me to the place where that violation occurs. In this particular case, it's very easy to rectify that. I just need to put a U to indicate it's an unsigned value. All right, let's close that down. Now, what about the quality of this code? Well, let's take a look at a system call graph. And the system call graph shows us all the functions, and we can see how they're interconnected. And I can view various different ways this call graph. I could view it in a way that shows me metrics, give me an idea of clarity or testability. But what I'm interested in is the metrics that give me an idea of maintainability, and in particular, the cyclomatic complexity. And we can see the most complex function is this integer to ASCII. It's got a value of 10. Well, let's view that graphically on a flow graph. And so there we have a flow graph showing us the code. So if I click on a block of code here, we can see the corresponding block over here. If I clicked on a branch, we can see this is the branch from this bit of code to this bit. Okay, so what I'd like to be able to do now is to execute this code, and as it executes, find out which parts of this code here have we exercised, and more importantly, which parts have we not exercised. So let's close this down, and let's go and perform the dynamic analysis. So this is now going to instrument the source code. It's then going to perform the build, and now it's going to execute this on the target. So it's going to invoke the CodeWarrior Development Studio, and it's running a tickle TCL script, and it takes a little bit of time for the IDE to actually initialize and start running. Right, so that's now talking to the target, it's erasing the target, and now it's starting to download, and then it should execute, and there we can see it's now starting to execute. It's hit a couple of breakpoints, we've read data from the target, we've saved it into a file on the host, we've analyzed those files, and now let's take a look and see, well, what coverage did we obtain? So again, we'll go to the system call graph, and this time we'll put it into a coverage view. And there we can see the coverage we've obtained. So in this particular case, for the integer to ASCII, we have 78% statement coverage. Well, let's view that on a flow graph. And there in green, we can see the paths we've taken. And in red, we've got a couple of branches we've not taken. And we've also got 3 or 4 blocks of code here that we've never executed. Why have we not executed this? where I've never had a value less than 180. So what I could do is I could create some test cases in order to try and increase the coverage. So let's go and do that. So I'm going to go and invoke tbrun, which is the unit testing tool. And the first thing I'm going to do is to create a sequence. So let's call it a unit test for the integer to ASCII function. So I just want the file that contains the integer to ASCII function. I want code coverage, and I'll create stubs. If any variables or functions are missing, similarly any variables are missing, I'll stub those. I'll do a test build, and let's go and do continue. So that's now done a test build, and that successfully built. So now I can start to do my testing. That's the function I'm interested in. So let's go and create a test case. And I'll just click continue on here. And it's found an array as an output. Well, we'll just add all those. That's fine. And let's go and put in a value of 1, 2, 3, less than 100. Okay, 3 digits. Blanks will have 0. And the expected output, I should get character 1, and then character 2, then character 3, and then I should get character 0s to complete the buffer. So just fill those in. And then finally the last character should be 0. Right, so I'm going to go and put a description in as 1, 2, 3. And it's a bit slow to run on the board, so what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to go and store this test case. And now I can create a second test case. So this time let's give a value with just 2 digits. So we'll do exactly the same again. But this time we'll put in a value here of 42. Digits 2, blanks will have 0 again. And then the output I'm expecting to get character 4, character 2, character 0. So I just need to put these values in here. So okay, another 0, another one, and then finally 0. So let's give that a description of 42. Let's go and save that again. And in the same way, I could create more test cases, but now let's go and run this on the target. So there, it's generated the harness, it's built it, and once again, it's opening up CodeWarrior. And once again, we have this tickle script that's going to start running. And just as before, we just need to wait for this to run. Okay, so that's now starting to erase the target, and as we can see, it's downloading the program. Then it should start running, and we should see it hit breakpoints, in which case it's going to read the data from the target, save it to a file on the host. Now we can see it's hitting the breakpoints. Now it's saved it into a file on the host, which we've analyzed, and there we can see our 2 tests have passed, which means with those inputs we got the expected outputs. And now let's take a look at the coverage. So let's go and see, and our coverage is increased. We've now got 100% statement coverage. And if we view the flow graph, we should now be able to see that previously we hadn't executed these blocks of code. Now with the tests we've done, we have. In the same way, I could create additional tests in order to be able to maybe try with digits equal to 0, so I get coverage for this branch, and similarly for these branches as well. Okay, so that hopefully has given you an idea of how we can work with CodeWarrior. And if you'd like more information, then please don't hesitate to contact us at LDRA. Thank you.